Welcome to video 10 of Gamer to Game Developer Series 1. And in this video we'll implement winning criteria and reloading the level when a team wins. So our three objectives are to implement the winning score criteria and allow the server to be able to change that winning score criteria, and finally when a team reaches the winning score that they should win and the level will restart after they are announced as the winner. I'll load up the fully built game so then it'll make more sense what we're going to implement in this video. Okay, I've loaded up the game and I've connected with another player as well. This is the same fully built game that's on my website. And I can press tab and you can see that it looks slightly different from what we implemented in the last video. So you can see there, red team is Kablamus, so that's the player I'm using right now. Blue team is GTGD, that's just another player on this very computer. And at the top you can see that it says there, the team that reaches a score of 20 wins. And that's what we'll be implementing in this video, is the winning score criteria. And when a team reaches that winning score, they will win. Now let me load up the server. I'll just bring that server up. And you'll notice that it too looks a bit different in that there's a new box here, and inside it you can see winning score, and at the moment it's 20. So I can use this button and reduce that winning score. I'll just change it down to 1. So I'll go over back to the red player, return to the game, and yeah, I can shoot with the blaster, but I can change weapons. This is the fully built one. I've got rockets. So I'll blow up GTGD with a rocket and watch the score go up. So boom. And you can see that red team has won the match and they have a score of 1. So you can see there's a loading screen. Alright, so now the game has reloaded. So our whole level has reloaded and will connect as the same player in the same network. So we're reconnecting and we have our same name, but now we join a team again. We can change our stats. So I can go once again, just join the red team. And you can see that I've joined into the game. If I jump over to the other player, they too will have seen the same thing. They too will have also seen that message that the red team had won the match. And they too can now join into the game as well. And there you can see that both players are in the game. Alright, that's what we're going to be implementing. And I'll jump back over to the slides to finish off explaining what we're going to implement. We just saw that the server can set the winning score criteria, and that was that we had this box appearing saying winning score, and we could press the plus or minus button to increase or decrease that score. And this appears and is controlled by the multiplayer script. So whenever we press a button and increase the winning score, the multiplayer script will tell the score table script by an RPC what the winning score is. And from that, the score table script then knows what the winning criteria is. So we saw from the built game that when the red team won, a message appeared on the screen that the red team had won the match, and it was the score table script that was doing this. It saw that the team had reached the winning score criteria and then displayed that message on the player's computer, and it sends out an RPC across the network to inform everyone to do the same. So then after a few seconds of showing that, a signal is sent to the reload level script, which is attached to an empty game object we'll call the reload level, and we'll create this script as well. And that script then gets the message. It'll halt network communications across the network, and it'll cause the level to reload on every player's computer. So after the level's reloaded, this script will resume all the network communications, and it'll tell the player database that it needs to add back each of those players back into the game. Because when the level reloads, it'll be a clean restart. The only game object that's going to stay in the game when the level reloads is the reload level game object. Everything else is going to be brand new, so the player database will be empty. So the reload level script will instruct it to add back every player that's in the game. And the reload level script will also send a signal to the spawn script that the player should now be allowed to choose their team again because the match is restarting. And all the while, the cursor control script, when the score table script was announcing that the player, that team had won, then the cursor control script would recognize that and it'll unlock the cursor. So that way, while that message is being displayed, players can't move around anymore or shoot at any other player. So it effectively pauses the game. Okay, so our very first step will be to actually create that reload level script. We create a new C# script and we'll call it reload level script. And of course, open it up in MonoDevelop. Alright, now that we have it open, we will type in our summary. So this script is attached to the reload level game object. And as we access various scripts, or this script is accessed by others, I'll fill out the summary as we go along. So now for our variables, I'll copy them, the variable start and end. Our first variable is public bool reload level is equal to false. Then public bool I am restarting match is equal to false. Public float wait time is equal to 0.1 f. Private static bool created is equal to false. And I'll explain that bit static in a few moments. So that's it for our variables. Now we're going to make use of the awake function, and that's where you'll see how this boolean is used. So void awake and in the awake function we're now going to use this boolean created. So the thing to remember is that the game object, this script and its game object, will stay in the game. They'll never be destroyed even when the level reloads, and we'll type a small line of code for that. And because of that, we need to make sure that there's no duplicate of this game object appearing when the level reloads. So we're going to control that. What we're going to do is we're going to use this boolean it'll get set to true. So it starts off as false. Then when the player has loaded the game for the first time, the boolean will get set to true, and it's a static bool. It's a global variable, so it'll stay even when the match restarts. The contents of a global variable, of a static variable, will remain, which is very, very important for us. So because of that, when the first time the level reloads, it's false, it's fine, we'll have our game object load up. Then when the player, say this team or any team, wins the match, and this game reloads, the application reloads itself. Now what's going to happen is that this game object already existed. It's one of the starting game objects in the game. So when the level reloads, a duplicate will be made because this thing won't get destroyed when the level is reloaded. But we're going to use a condition using this variable called created. So if created is true, then this game object will delete itself in the awake function. So I'll type it out. It'll make much more sense when I've typed it out, and you'll see how we make pretty simple use of this variable. So I'll write here the comment that the reload level game object will be the only game object to remain. So the reload level game object will be the only game object to remain when the level reloads. So when the level reloads. And everything else will be recreated. And so we need to ensure that a new copy of this reload level game object is not created each time the level reloads. So I'll type that out. Everything else will be recreated. And we need to ensure that a new copy of this reload level game object is not duplicated each time the level loads. Well, each time the level reloads. So now the code, if created is equal to false, then don't destroy on load game object, this game object that this script is attached to. And we'll set that boolean created is now equal to true. And outside the if statement, else destroy game object. So destroy this game object. So I'll go through that again. So the very first time the player has this game open, this is one of the starting game objects, reload level, and the boolean will be false. So since it's false, this game object will be classified as don't destroy on load. So this game object will not be destroyed when the application reloads. And we set that boolean to true, and it's a static boolean. So even when we reload the game, its contents will be preserved. So the next time, so when the level reloads upon a team winning, created will still be true. So this awake function will run not on the existing reload level game object that was from the last match. That this awake function is only going to run when the game object is created, is instantiated right for the first time. So since it's already in the game, this awake function is not going to run on the existing reload level game object. But the new one that gets duplicated when the level reloads, it will run this code, this awake function. So in its awake function, it'll see that created is not false, so destroy game object. So simply it'll remove the reload level script, and that'll avoid any confusion. So we only have one reload level game object in our game permanently, despite how many times we reload the level. And that's a pretty simple way to control that. Okay, so now we can move on to our update function. So this script is going to depend on the score table script. It's the score table script that's going to tell the script when the match needs to restart and that a team has reached that winning criteria. So I'll write here the comment. The score table script will set reload level to true when a team wins, and this happens on the server only, and this happens on the server only. So it's the server that will control the match restarting on everyone's computer. The server tells all the players to reload the level. That's quite simply what the code we're going to write does. So the server tells all the players to reload the level. So if reload level, and reload level is that boolean that we just wrote up there. So if reload level is true and network.isServer, then we're going to send an RPC to everyone to tell them to restart the match. So send an RPC to everyone telling them to restart the match. And I'll type out that RPC now. So down here, I'll write RPC void restart match is the name of this RPC. And I'll write here the comment that the first thing it's going to do is to delete all RPCs and stop network communications. So delete all RPCs and stop network communications. So network dot remove RPCs network dot player network dot set sending enabled, and the group 0 to false. Then network dot is message queue running is equal to false. And I've just remembered that we also have another group because both teams are in separate groups. So the red team is its own and the blue team is its own. So I'll just copy paste that, and also 1. So if we jump over to the spawn script, in the spawn script, we'll see that we had assigned a group for the red team of 0 and blue team as 1. So back to our reload level script. So we're stopping all of those communications, and then we'll reload the level. So application dot load level and the name of that scene that we want to load. So if I jump over, the name of our scene in my case is series 1 prototype. So I'll just hit F2, copy paste that. Well, copy it, and then jump back and paste it in. Alright, and now I'll use a coroutine to give just a few moments to load. So just give a few moments for the level to load before resuming the network communications. So right there, use a coroutine to give the level a few moments to load before allowing network communications to resume. And we'll write that coroutine right now. enumerator delay and yield return new wait 4 seconds, and the time to wait is wait time. Network dot is message queue running is now equal to true. Network dot send sending enabled. I'll copy this line. I'll copy both of them and paste them in. And instead of false, it's now true. So both groups of network objects can now send RPCs again. And finally, the Boolean I am restarting match is equal to true. And this Boolean here, I am restarting match, is equal to true. It is important here because what's going to happen is that we're going to use this. So after the level's been reloaded, this Boolean here is now suddenly set to true in this script, and we're going to make use of that just later on in the update function up above to make this script access the player database and add the players back into the player database, and also access the spawn script so that the player can choose a team again and adjust their stats. Those stats will come later on. Okay, so we've just made that coroutine there. Now we need to use it. So we write here, start coroutine, and we name that coroutine delay. And an opening, closing, round bracket, and close that off. Alright, so our RPC and coroutine are done. So let's head back to the update function and make use of that RPC. So network view.rpc, and the name of it is restart match. And we send it to everyone, rpc mode.all. And after that, we set reload level to false, so it doesn't attempt to continue restarting the match. Now, outside of that, if you remember back in our coroutine, that I am restarting match is set to true. So now we'll make use of that. If I am restarting match is equal to true, then, and we won't have the code for it now. We've got to edit the player database script and the spawn script. Then we'll come back to the script later on. But I can write the comments for now, so that we need to access the player database and tell it that the match is restarting. So I'll write that. Access the player database and tell it that the match is restarting. And the player database will then have each of the players added back into the database. Well, the list really. The player database will then have each of the players added back into the player list. Okay, so that's the first thing it's going to do. The second is it's going to access the spawn script and tell it that the match is restarting. So access the spawn script and tell it that the match is restarting. The spawn script will then allow the player to choose a team again. So the spawn script will then allow the player to choose a team again. And after doing those two things, I am restarting match is set to false. And that's it for now. Might as well go back to our summary and type in what's being accessed. So this script accesses the player database. This script accesses the spawn script. This script is accessed by the score table script. Okay, and that should be it for now. I should be able to save it. Quickly check for errors. Do we have any? No, that's a good sign. And we can move on to the next step where we edit the score table script. Our next step is to edit the score table script. Alright, I've opened up the score table script, and I'll add a new comment in the summary. So this script accesses the reload level script when a team reaches the winning score. And in it, we'll add some new variables. And I'll write the comment. These are used for the winning score. So the first one is private, GUI style, win style is equal to new GUI style. Then public bool red team has won is equal to false. Public bool blue team has won is equal to false. Public int winning score public int wait time is equal to 7. And that's it for our variables. So now I can go over to the start function and I'll define the win style. Win style dot font size is equal to 40. Win style dot normal dot text color is equal to color dot white. Win style dot font style is equal to font style dot bold. And win style dot alignment is equal to text anchor dot middle center. Okay, so this font size is pretty big, as you've noticed. And that's because we want that message, you know, the red team has won or the blue team has won, to be nice and large. We want it to be bold and positioned in the middle. And I will also place a comment down here. We'll have to come back and fill out this code later once we've updated the multiplayer script. But that comment is, get the default winning criteria from the multiplayer script. So get the default winning criteria from the multiplayer script. And we'll come back to this once we've edited the multiplayer script. And while I'm at it, I'll actually go back up here to the summary and type that in as well. That this script accesses the multiplayer script to obtain the default winning criteria. So I've finished our start function for now. The next thing is to go over to the update function and we'll add some new code for that. So at the very end of the update function, go down to the very end, add some space there, and we'll type our new code here. What this bit of code is going to do is simply going to check if that blue team score, the ints that we just made here, if blue team score, oh, sorry, not those two. If these two, if blue team score or red team score are greater than the winning score or equal to. If they are, then that means that team has won. So if red team score is greater than or equal to whatever the winning score is, then we'd set the Boolean red team has won to true. And our onGUI function will look for that. So going back down, I'll write here the comment that if either team has reached the winning score, then activate the appropriate Boolean. So if either team has reached the winning score, then activate the appropriate Boolean. And I'll write another comment here. So another script that we need to edit is the cursor control script. Now the cursor control script is also interested in whether blue team has won is true or red team has won is true. So it'll also look at this score table script and check these Booleans to see if they're true. If they come true, then the cursor would unlock so that the player can't move or shoot, and it'd see the screen that so-and-so team has won. So I'll write that comment too. The cursor, and we'll update the cursor control script later. The cursor control script on this player is constantly watching to see if blue team has won or red team has won have become true at any time. And if either are true, then the cursor will unlock and effectively result in the player being paused. And effectively result in the player being paused. So I'll also write back up in our summary that this script is accessed by the cursor control script. And I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, going back down to our update function. So now I need to write the code. I've written that very long comment. If blue team score is greater than or equal to winning score, then blue team has won is equal to true. And likewise, if red team score is greater than or equal to winning score, then red team has won is equal to true. Alright, so that's our update function done. Now we need to go over to our onGUI function, and we will need to actually replace some code. Look for the portion inside onGUI that says display the scoreboard header. And within that, what we need to change is this bit here, where it just says score table at the moment. Now we're going to fill that out with the text that actually needs to show. So I will delete that. I'll bring it over to the next line and type it. So the team that reaches a score of, and I'll put a space, a quotation mark, plus winning score dot toString plus, in quotations, a space, then wins, end the quotation, and that's it. Alright, so now our header, so at the very top of the scoreboard, it'll look a bit different now. Instead of that bit where it said scoreboard, well, score table, and it was, remember, it was a bit to the left because we didn't really center it or anything. We didn't do anything proper with it. Now instead we have this text, and it'll nicely fill up that label. Okay. Now we need to also add, so of course we're not done. We need to add new code so that we can have that big message appear that so-and-so team has won. So we'll go over to, well, let's go to the end of our on GUI and let's add some new code. So I'll write the comment that when a team wins, display a box covering the screen and overlay it with the winning message on top. So when a team wins, display a box covering the screen. That's how we get that grayish looking color. Well, that transparent gray appearing over the screen. Covering the screen and overlay the winning message on top. And only the server has the authority to restart a match, which is very important. Because you can imagine it, if we had left it up to the players, then wouldn't more than one player have a team that's winning? So the team score, all of them would have the most up-to-date team score, so they'd all try and restart the match, and that would be chaos. So we only have the server control that. So only the server will restart the match once the restart match timer has gone to 0. Okay, and now I'll write the code. If blue team has won is equal to true, then GUI.box new rect position 0. So at the exact left of the screen, 0 top, so all the way at the top. Screen.width, so the entire width of the screen, and screen.height. So the whole screen is covered, and we put a comma and an empty quotation mark, so that'll cause the box to draw. So we'll have a gray box covering the whole screen. So we've written that code first. Then we write the next GUI.box, which will display the message. So GUI.box new rect. Once again, the same thing. 0, 0, screen.width, screen.height. But now we'll display the message. Blue team has won the match. And put an exclamation mark. And the style is win style. And we can close that. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Yes, we'll draw this gray box first. And then on top of that, we'll have the message. Blue team has won the match. And it'll be according to the win style, which is that large font of 40, etc. And then after, so now we have the message displaying. The next thing we'll do is to start a coroutine. So we'll write that coroutine. But just before we do that, I'll just write here, if network.isServer, so only the server will do this bit of code, start coroutine, and that coroutine is going to be restart match. That's what we're going to call it. So let's type it out. So I'll first type out a new function. And I'll type the comment that this is, well, yeah, this is used on the server. This is used on the server as a signal to restart the game. And that is void restart game. So the name of our function. And what this is going to do, it's going to access, it's going to find the reload level game object. We haven't made that yet. We will once we've finished editing all the scripts, we'll create a new empty game object, call that reload level, and attach the reload level script. And so this script is going to access the reload level script, and then it's going to set reload level, the boolean inside that script, to true, and that'll make the level reload. So game object reload, I'll just name this variable, is equal to game object dot find reload level is what we will call it. Reload level script, reload script, is equal to reload dot get component, and that component is reload level script. Okay, and then reload script dot reload level is equal to true. Alright, and that would cause the match to restart. But we're not going to run that function straight away. I want there to be a delay so that this message has time to be on the screen, and that time, that wait time that I had set up back up here in the variables was 7, so 7 seconds. So going back down, let's set up that coroutine. So I enumerator restart match yield return new wait for seconds, and I need to make that W capital, wait time, and then we'll run that function just above, restart game. Now the truth is, I don't actually have to have it as a separate function. I can just have this code inside there, but I just decided to do it that way. Alright, so back here we'll go and start the coroutine. So it was called restart match, and don't forget the opening and closing round bracket. And then we will do the same thing for the red team. So we can just copy paste this, copy, paste this below, and instead of blue team has won, we just change it to red team has won. And here, instead of blue team, it's now red team has won the match. In the win style, yes, server, start coroutine, restart match. Okay, and that looks right. And that actually does it for the score table script, at least for now. So I'll save the changes that I've made to it. And just have a look in Unity that I haven't made any errors. Doesn't look like it. So I'll jump back, and we can move on to the next step where we'll edit the multiplayer script. We're on to step 3 of 8, which is to edit the multiplayer script. And basically what we're going to implement is the winning score criteria and the ability for the server to set it. So we're going to add some new onGUI elements and have a way of sending this as an RPC to the score table script. I've opened up the multiplayer script, and I'll type in a new comment, which is that this script accesses the score table script to inform it of the winning score criteria. Alright. And we'll add some new variables. So these are used in setting the winning score. So these are used in setting the winning score. And they are public int winning score is equal to 20. So that's just the default value. private int score button width is equal to 40. Private GUI style plain style is equal to new GUI style. Alright, and that's it for our variables. Then in our start function, we'll define that plain style. So I'll just drop down here. So I'll write plain style dot alignment is equal to text anchor dot middle left, and plain style dot normal dot text color is equal to color dot white. Okay, and that's it for our start function. Now I'll go over to our on GUI function. Okay, so we've finally gotten to the on GUI function. Actually, no, before editing the on GUI function, I'll actually put in a new RPC. So I'll type in here. So we'll set up a new RPC. So this RPC is sent to all players from the server to tell them of the new winning score criteria. So I'll write that. This RPC is sent to all players from the server to tell them of the new winning score criteria. So void tell everyone winning criteria is what I'll name the function. Criteria, yes, I've spelled that correctly. So int win score, I'll just name this variable. It'll expect an int, this function. And inside it, what this RPC will do is to find the game manager, access the score table script on that game manager, and then set the winning score variable on the table score, on the score table script. It'll set the winning score to equal win score. Game object, game manager is equal to game object dot find game manager. Score table score script is equal to game manager dot get component score table, and then score script dot winning score is equal to win score. Alright, so that's our new RPC added. Oh wait, I haven't put in the word RPC up here. So it's not an RPC till we put RPC. Now it's an RPC. Okay, now we can go back to the onGUI function. And we'll add some new code. And the new bit of code that we want to add, we'll only want it to run on the server. So not while it's disconnected, not for a client, but for the server. So only the server can set what the winning score is. So I'll just go down here. I've made some space there. And I'm going to write the comment that what we're going to type is going to allow the server to set the score required for a team to win, and the winning criteria can be adjusted by clicking on a plus or minus button. So allows the server to set the score required for a team to win, and the winning criteria can be adjusted by clicking on the plus or minus button. Okay, and now we're going to have a whole lot of code just to implement that. And that's, first off, we'll draw the box. So GUI.box that contains that label, and it'll contain the buttons. So GUI.box, and it has a new rect. And I determined through trial and error, I guess, what the position, well, what that shape of the rect should be. So its left is 10, its top is 190, the width 300, and the height is 70. And then it's just a empty string, so that way the box is drawn. Oh, and I need to add one more bracket. And now I'll write here, we'll have a new area. So GUI layout dot begin area. So by having an area at that approximate location of the box, I can then use GUI layout dot label and GUI layout dot button and save myself the headache of manually positioning each item afterwards. So GUI layout dot begin area, new rect, and 20, 200 from the top. So you can see I'm positioning it inside the box. So 10 away, 10 more than the box away from the left side of the screen, 10 more away from the top than the box from the top of the screen. So 200, 280 is the width, and 60 is the height. Okay. And then I'll begin a horizontal, since I want the rest of the, well, I want the rest of the GUI objects to be sitting horizontal. So the label and then the buttons beside each other. So GUI layout dot begin horizontal. And then underneath that, now I can start writing the label and of course also the buttons. So first off, GUI layout dot label, and this label is just going to show the text winning score. And it's going to be the style, plain style. It will have a width of 100, so GUI layout dot width 100, and it'll also have a height, which is GUI layout dot height, and that height will be score button width. That's a bit nonsensical, width being the height. Well, it's just the number that's important. Then GUI layout. Oh, but I do know why I've put it as score button width. So that way the height of the label will match up with the height, well, the size of the buttons. So their height will also be score button width. So next we'll have the label showing the number, showing that's winning score number. And that's going to be to the right of this one, winning score right here, this text. So GUI layout dot label winning score dot toString plain style GUI layout dot width. This time it'll just be 40, and then GUI layout dot height score button width. Okay, let me just survey that again. GUI layout dot label winning score dot toString plain style. Yes, the width is right and the height is correct. Okay, then the next item is the first of the buttons, so the plus button. So we'll write here if GUI layout dot button, and I've put here if because if the player presses on it, then we want certain code to run. If GUI layout dot button, and what's written on it is just a plus. It has a width of GUI layout dot width, score button width, and it has a height of score button width as well. GUI layout dot height, score button width, and we can close that off. Alright, so if GUI layout dot button, it'll have a plus symbol in it. Its width is score button width, its height is score button width as well. Okay, so if the player clicks on this plus button, then we want certain code to run, and that is if winning score is greater than or equal to 10, then winning score is equal to winning score plus 10. Alright. Now, if winning score is less than 10, so if winning score is less than 10, then winning score is equal to winning score plus 9. And the reason why I'm saying 9 is our system is that whenever the player presses the plus or minus button, the winning score will change by 10. And the reason is that when the player presses, let's say the player has a winning score of 10, if they press the minus button, then obviously we don't want it to go to 0, it'll go to 1. Now, if it was 1, and we said winning score plus 10, it'll become 11, and every time we press the plus button, it'll become 11, 21, 31, and that's not right. We want it to be 20, 30, 40. So 1, 10, 20, 30, 40. So this is very simple. If it's less than 10, so really it's saying if winning score is 1, then just say winning score is equal to winning score plus 9, and that makes it 10. And every plus press from there, since it says here greater than or equal to 10, we'll just add 10 to that. Okay, so when the player has pressed that button, we also want the RPC to fire off as well. So every time the player presses the button, this RPC will get sent off. So network view.rpc, and that RPC is the one that we just wrote, tell everyone winning criteria. So I'll copy that, paste it in, and I'll send it to everybody. So rpc mode.all, and it requires an int, and that int is this number here, the winning score. Winning score. Okay. So that's our RPC sent. Okay, so now that's our plus button taken care of. Now we need to take care of the negative button. So if GUI layout dot button, and this button is a negative sign, and its width is score button width, so GUI layout dot width, score button width, GUI layout dot height, score button width as well. And now for the code inside it. Winning score is equal to winning score minus 10. And if winning score is less than or equal to 0, then winning score is equal to 1. And we send off that same RPC, and we can just copy paste it. So network view.rpc, tell everyone winning criteria, just copy it, paste. Okay, so that's our buttons done. So we still have a bit more to do to the multiplayer script. we need to head over to the connect window function. Connect window function. It's a pretty big script, this one. I could almost use find. Alright, so this is the connect window function. And inside it, after, let's have a look. So if the player wants to set up a server, so inside this, where it says playerprefs.setString, so this is where the player wants to set up a server, and once they set up a server, if the winning score, the default winning score in this script is whatever value, that should be the value used by the score table script. So if the player changes, if anyone changes the winning score number in this script, the default winning score value, then the score table script should receive that value. So I'll simply write here, tell the score table script the winning score. Or rather, the winning criteria. Okay, and we just simply write tell everyone winning criteria and the winning score. And as you'll notice, what I've just done here is that I haven't used the RPC, I've just used the function itself. So it'll just be a local function. So that way our score table script will be supplied with the whatever the winning score is. And did we give a default value? Yes, we did, and that was 20. And if we went back over to our score table script, you'll see that we don't define what the winning score is. So it would start at 0. And obviously we don't want that. So when the score table script runs and, when the multiplayer script runs and the player has set up a server, this script will then access the score table script and supply it with that winning score criteria. Okay, and we have something more to do as well. So now when a player connects to the server, they should receive that winning score criteria straight away. So what I need to look for now is the onPlayerConnected function. And I think I will just search for it. So I'll type here onPlayerConnected. Okay, so that's my onPlayerConnected function right there. And I'll add in one more new line of code. And that's also an RPC, networkview.rpc. And we're going to send this to the new player that's connecting. And the name of this RPC, which we had written down here. I'll just copy paste it from here. Tell everyone winning criteria. And send it to network player. So you can see that network player variable there. It'll receive a value when that new player connects to the game. And we supply the winning score. Okay, so any new player connecting to the server will immediately be told of what the winning criteria is. So that should be it for our multiplayer script. I'll save all the changes that we did. We did quite a lot to the script. And I'll just have a quick look at Unity. Just check. Okay, so I have made a mistake, so I'll jump over to it and have a look at what it is. So it was right here. Oh, okay, and I can see what it is. I've just misplaced the bracket. So I should delete that and place the bracket here. Okay. And save that. And now I'll check again. What's the condition? And it looks like the errors have cleared up. So our multiplayer script should be okay. All right, and we can move on to the next step, where we'll edit our score table script again. We're on to step 4 of 8, which is to edit the score table script again, and it'll be nice and quick. I'm in the score table script, and I'll just go down to the start function, and where we had that freestanding comment there that get the default winning criteria from the multiplayer script. Now I'll write the code. Game object multi-manager is what I'll just call this variable. Multi-manager is equal to game object dot find multiplayer manager. Multiplayer manager. Okay, then multiplayer script, I'll call it multi-script, this variable, is equal to multi-manager.getComponent, and the component is multiplayer script. Okay, now that we have access to the multiplayer script, we'll get the winning score from it. So winning score on this script is equal to multi-script dot winning score, and that's it. And now we can save that. So this is important where the match is restarting and it's not a new player connecting to the game. So the bit in that multiplayer script that we had just written, that when a new player joins the game, supply the winning score to that new player, well, it's different now. In the case of match restarting, all the players are existing players, but all the scripts apart from the reload level script are starting from the beginning. So this score table script would have a winning score of 0. So it's important then that it needs to access the multiplayer script and get that winning score. Okay, so that's it for this step. We can move on to the next step, which is to edit the spawn script. Our 5th step is to edit the spawn script, and this will also be pretty quick. I've opened up the spawn script, and I'll add a new comment in the summary that this script is accessed by the score table script. Okay. And now we'll add a new variable. So down here, after our first spawn, I'll add a new comment that is used in, so this is used in allowing the player to select a team again if the match has restarted. So this is used in allowing the player to select a team again if the match has restarted. And it's just one variable, public bool match restart is equal to false. Okay, now let's make use of that. So let's go over to the join team window function, which is this right here. And at the moment it says if just connected to server is true, then we'll run this code inside the join team window function. Now I'm going to edit that. I'll first put in a new comment up here that only show these two buttons, join the red team and join the blue team, when the player has just connected to the server or if the match has restarted. So right there, only show these two buttons when the player has just connected to the server or if the match has restarted. And I'll just write here, they allow the player to choose a team. They allow the player to choose a team and spawn into the game. All right. And quite simply, we'll just put here, if just connected to server is true, or match restart is true. If either condition is true, then allow the player to pick their team. And just after this variable where we set just connected to server to false once the player has pressed the button, we'll now set also match restart to false. So match restart is equal to false. And we do that for the blue team button as well. So match restart is equal to false. And now we go over to our onGUI function. And if you'll notice here, we have this code running if the player is connected to the server or if they are destroyed. And that code that runs is this. It displays the window, the join team window. And that's the code inside this function here, the join team window function. So our onGUI is displaying that function. We have to expand the conditions here. So at the moment it's saying just connected to server or I am destroyed. So now it also needs to be or match restart is equal to true. And I'll bring it to the next line. Network dot is client. So the match restart bit is true is an obvious check that we now need to have. So that way if the match is restarting, then that window will draw. But this bit here is probably it's not as clear. The reason why that is because this bit here would also get set to true on the server as well. And in that case, we don't want the join team window to show on the server. It should only show on the players, of course, because only the players are allowed to spawn into the game. The server is just a dedicated server. Okay, so that finishes it for this script. I'll save it. And that's it for our spawn script. We've finished editing that. And we can move on to our next step, which is to edit the player database. We're on to step 6 of 8, which is to edit the player database. I've opened up the player database script, and now inside the summary, I'll write that this script is accessed by the score table script. Okay, and we'll add 3 new variables. I'll write here that these are used when the match restarts. And they are public list. And this list is network player. And I'll name the list N player list. So it's a list of network player IDs is equal to new list network player and opening closing round brackets. Public bool match restarted is equal to false. Public bool add player again is equal to false. Okay, so those are our variables. Next, we'll add a new RPC. So let's go down, 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 all the way to the end. And we'll add in a new RPC. So RPC. And probably before that, I'll just write a comment about this RPC since it's a little bit different. That this RPC, it's only sent to the server and is used when the match is restarted. It's the player is pretty much asking the server to add it back to the player list. So back to our player list. The player is asking itself to get added back. So this RPC is sent to the server only and is used when the match has restarted. The player is effectively asking the server to add it back to the player list. Okay, so now the RPC itself, void add player back, and it requires a network player. So network player, and I'll call it net player. Or actually, I'll just call it N player. So N player. Okay, and I'll write another comment here too, that players are added, well, they're recorded in that list, the N player list that we've just written up here. So this N player list. And so that's the reason for that is so that no player is left out as players are being added back into the player list by the server. So I'll write that. The comment, the players are, well, the players to be added are recorded in a list so that no player is missed out on when it comes to actually adding them to the player list in the add player to list RPC, which is that RPC right up here, add player to list. So we'll be making use of that. So at the end of this, now we'll write the code that N player list dot add N player, and add player again is equal to true. So that's what our RPC is going to do. It's going to be sent to the server, and it's going to tell the server, it's going to supply the network player ID of that player who wants to get added back into the player list, and it tells the server that add player again is true, and we're going to use that to run some code. We're going to use that as a condition. So we scroll back up to our update function. Okay, so that's our update. And to the end of our update function, oh, not there. So to the end of our update function, I'll add a new comment that when a match is restarted, the player list is deleted. And because of that, every player who's continuing on to the next match, they need to be added back to the list. So the reload level script is accessing this script. It's going to access this script after the level has reloaded, and it'll set match restarted to true. And that's how the client will know, the players will know, that they need to tell the server to add them back to the player list. So when a match is restarted, the player list is deleted. So each player who is continuing to the next match needs to be added back into the list, the player list. The reload level script, is accessing this script after the level has reloaded and is setting match restarted to true, and that's a boolean that we just introduced to true. Okay, so now we'll have that code, and this bit of code is run on the server. If network.isServer is equal to true, and add player again is equal to true, then for each network player, net player, I'll call it, in n player list. So it'll go through that n player list, and for each network player ID in it, it'll add that player back into the player list. It'll run that RPC. So network view.rpc, and the RPC is add player to list, this one. Add player to list, and if you remember that RPC only needs a network player ID to add the players back into the list. So we'll just put here add player to list RPC mode dot all buffered. Okay, and we're supplying it with net player. Okay, and after we conduct that, we should empty the n player list. So n player list dot clear. So that way so players who join a bit later, they'll also add themselves to this n player list on the server. So we make sure to clear it. So every player, every group of players, or every individual player that's been added back in, let's just clear the list so that any late players with a high ping, once they finally restart into the game, then they supply the server with their network player ID. So dot clear, and add player again is equal to false. So I'll write here if network.isClient is true and match restarted is true, then network view .rpc, and that RPC is our brand new one, which is add player back. RPC mode .server and network .player. And we'll set that variable match restarted to false, so it doesn't try to run this RPC again. Alright, so that's all the code that we needed to add to the player database. And I think I should just run over it quickly again. So what's going to happen is that when the score table script finds that a team has won the game, it'll eventually come to access this player database script, and it'll do so once the level is reloaded. It'll access across the network, it'll access this script, the player database script, and it'll set the variable match restarted to true. So all the players, they're the clients, they'll see that match restarted is true, and because of that, they'll run this RPC, which is sent to the server only. And that RPC, which is add player back, simply adds to the n player list the network player ID and tells the server that this boolean should be true, which is add player again. So now this code, which is in the update function, so the client bit is done. It's told the server to add its network player ID to the n player list. Now the server will, in its next frame, well, whenever it runs this update code, it'll see that add player again is true. So it'll know then that it needs to go through the nPlayer list. So for every network player ID in that nPlayer list, it'll run this function, which is add player to list, this function here, this RPC, and it'll add the player back into the player list across the network and buffer it, so new players will have the updated player list. And then of course we empty the list, so in case there are late players with slower connections, they'll eventually connect back into the game and they'll receive the message that match restarted is true, and then they'll tell the server to add them back to the player list. So it's quite simple, it just takes a bit of a thinking. So I'll save that, and I'll just pop over to Unity and check there are no errors, which is good. So that means our script should run fine. And that's it for this step. In our next step, we need to edit the reload level script. We're on to step 7 now, which is to edit the reload level script and finish it off. I'm in the reload level script, and we just need to complete it now. So we had down here these two comments, and they're lacking the code. So we'll now add that code. So for the bit where we access the player database, we will write game object, game manager is equal to game object dot find, and that is game manager, and player database data script is equal to game manager dot get component player database. Once we have access to it, we'll say data script dot match restarted is equal to true. Okay, and for the spawn script now, we'll write game object spawn manager is equal to game object dot find spawn manager. And spawn script is equal to spawn manager dot get component spawn script. And spawn script dot match restart is equal to true. Okay, so what we've done is we've accessed the player database and told them that the match is restarting, and you remember that we just wrote that bit of code that the player will then ask the server to add it back to the list. And for the spawn manager, it's simply that if the match is restarting, then the player should be allowed to join a team again. Okay, so I can save that. And I think actually something just clicks at the moment. Let me go back to the player database script. And I think I did, yes, I made a mistake here. See how I said in the summary that this script is accessed by the score table script? It's not the score table script, it's the reload level script. The reload level script. And once again, for the spawn script, it's not the score table script, it's the reload level script. So that's a bit of a mistake on my part. Save that. I'll save the one in the player database. Okay. And that should be it for the reload level script. Okay, so that means we can move on to the last step, which is to edit the cursor control script. We're on to our last step, which is to edit the cursor control script. In the cursor control script, I'll add a new comment that this script accesses the score table script. And I'll add a new variable, private score table score script. And then in the start function, I'll write score script is equal to game manager dot get component that's score table. Okay, and now in the update function on the next line, we'll first write and for this first part where we're locking the cursor. So and score script dot blue team has won is equal to false, and score script dot red team has won is equal to false. And then for the second part where we're unlocking the cursor, so or score script dot blue team has won is equal to true, or score script dot red team has won is equal to true. Okay, and that should be it for our cursor control script, so we can save it and we can jump over to Unity and set up and then build and run. I'll add a new game object, so game object create empty, and I'll just reset its position and I'll call this reload level. And I'll attach our new script to it. So component scripts reload level script, and I'll also attach component miscellaneous network view since it sends RPCs, and I'll set it to off the synchronization and have it observe nothing. Okay, so that's our reload level game object setup. We can save this and build and run. Now I was about to just build and run, but I've just double checked the code and there is a mistake inside our score table script. So I'll just jump over to that, and this is the score table script, and going down to on GUI. Now I've placed our new code within if show score table is true, and that's wrong. So this code right here, if blue team has won or if red team has won, then display this message and start the coroutine. So because it's in the wrong place, this coroutine won't get started like it should have. So we need to cut it out, all of that, and place it outside. So just a bit down there. And I'll just use Shift Tab to decrease the indent. Okay, and that was the mistake that I had made. And if we had run it with that mistake, the level wouldn't have reloaded. Okay, so we can jump back to Unity and give that a shot. So File, Build and Run. Play. I'll set up a server with this. I'll connect here as a player. connect, join the red team, any team. And yes, we can see that our score table is different now. It says there at the top that the team that reaches a score of 20 wins. So how about we just go and change that in the server right now? So you can see there in the server, winning score is 20. So I'll decrease that down to 1. So I'll just press that again, so 1. Let's go back and check it out. And yes, you can see that this player now has the new winning score criteria, which is 1. Let's go connect with the other player and join the blue team. So connect, join the blue team, and this new player can see the correct winning score criteria, which is 1. Let's use them to destroy the red player. Alright, and we can see that the blue team has won the match. They've achieved a score of 1, and the level has reloaded. And why not, let's just do that again. So I'll connect with a blue player, I'll connect here as a red player, and we'll look at what happens on the server too. See what it looks like from the server's end. So repeat, oh yeah, that's right. Well, this winning score is now 20 because the level has reloaded. So let's go over to the server and just decrease that to 1. It'll immediately cause the attacking team to win, which was this red team. So I'll decrease it to 1, and there we go. We can see that the red team has won on all of the game instances, which is good. So that means our script is working. So let's once again, I'll try that. Join red team, join blue team. This time I'll use this one. Well, I did that last time too. Okay, attack. Oh yeah, and I keep forgetting because our winning score is 20 now. So if I just go back to the server, set it down, and yes, the red team will win the match, which is good. And it means that our system is working, which is great. So I'll shut these down. Shut down the server. Alright, so we've completed video 10. We've completed the 8 most important videos. Well, maybe 9. Videos 2 to 10 are the foundation for our prototype multiplayer game. They're the must-have. All the other stuff that we're now going to implement is pretty much the fun stuff. Most of it's really, if not all of it, is optional really. The stuff that we've covered now till video 10 and the end of video 10 is all fundamental stuff that you'd kind of expect to see in most types of multiplayer games. And you now have the code to actually, you've built the system, you've seen how it works, you have the code now, and you can edit it now and use it for your own projects. So from now on, from videos 11 onwards, we'll be doing a lot of fun stuff. In the next video, we're going to work on our fake crouching, which is more or less playing around with scaling. So in this video, what we had done, we'd finished off our winning score criteria and level reload, and which is very important. You'd expect that when a team wins that the level will reload. Now what would be better is if we had multiple maps to choose from and maybe like a lobby. So once the match has been won, the players are taken to another scene, you'd say. So just like we have a scene here, the series 1 prototype, so we'd have another scene, maybe we'd call it lobby, and all the players are taken there and they can then choose a map or something like that. But that's another story on its own. So okay, so in our next video we'll implement fake crouching, and as I said, all the future videos, all the videos from here onwards are pretty much the fun stuff. So thanks for watching, and I hope this was beneficial to you. See you in the next video.